Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be doing my January book haul. Last year I was doing these, like my hauls and my wrap-ups, I was doing quarterly, and then as I was reading more toward the end of the year, I did them bi-monthly. I think this year I'm going to go back to doing them monthly, if for no other reason than to have consistent monthly content for you guys. I am trying to stay on a consistent 2 videos a week schedule. I don't know how long that's going to last. So far I've been doing really well with having videos on Mondays and Thursdays, so I'm hoping to keep that up, but again, we'll see how the year pans out. But again, today's my haul. All of these books are from Pango, except for one. Pango is a very dangerous app for me to have because I find so many good deals on that app. And if you've watched my New Year booktuber tag, my 2023 goals, you'll know that one of my goals was to be more frugal about purchasing books and to be a little bit, like, to buy less of them throughout the year. I also mentioned in that video that it had already been thrown out the window. So I'm actually going to start with the ones that aren't from Pango. Actually, there's only one that's not from Pango, and that's my January book of the month. My book of the month for January was Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. This is book 2. I don't know what the series is called, but it's the one after Ninth House is the first book. So it's the one after that. And I feel like it's been a while since I read that book, and I'm kind of wondering if I should maybe go back and reread it. I do remember that the first, like, 150-ish pages of that book were really, really slow for me, and I was not into it at all, but then it really picked up, and I ended up really enjoying the book. So I don't know if we'll see if I reread. I don't generally reread, because I like to just read like newer books all the time and get through my physical TBR as much as possible, but I may have to reread that before diving into this. I lied. There's one more that's not, because I think this one was cheaper actually on Amazon than it was on Pango. So the one that I got on Amazon because it was so cheap was The Devil's Crown by Monica James. This is book 2. This is part 2 of I think it's called The Devil's Crown duet. It's the All the Pretty Saints spinoff of, I think it's Alexei, from that series. This is his story, but this is part 2. It was only like $8, and I've been wanting to read this. It's on my Hoopla. I think my library does have it available on Hoopla, but I wanted to get the physical copy. Someone was selling this on Pango, which I thought it was pretty cheap, and then I always reference Amazon just in case, because I have to include shipping when on Pango, and I do have Prime on Amazon, so I don't have to include a shipping cost. So it's actually cheaper for me to buy on Amazon than it was to buy from the seller on Pango. But I still need to get the first one now. Now the rest of these I got off of Pango in no particular order. I'll do my historicals last as usual. I'll do these ones first. The first one I got was The Priest by S.R. Jones. This has been sitting in my Pango cart for I don't know how many months. And then it just so happened that around like Christmas time, the seller cut the price of it in half, and I was like, okay, well that's a sign that I need to buy it, because no one else picked it up. I happened to see it like later on in the day. No one else bought it, so I decided I had to buy it because it just sounds really good. I did not realize, however, that this is part of a larger series. I think you can read each book as a standalone. This is like further in. But yeah. I was really excited because I think he's military. His call sign is priest. Like, he's not an actual priest. So, and I've been watching a lot of SEAL Team lately, so I've been really into reading like military romances. But this is also the Dangerous Romance Club's edition cover. And I have Where the Truth Lives by Mia Sheridan. This is actually the second book, I believe, after Where the Blame Lies, which I really, really want to read. Where the Blame Lies is on my 23 books I want to read this year. So I definitely need to read that because I have book 2 now to read. And I need to get to so many books. Like, there's just so many I want to read all at once, and I can't decide what to read next. So I just need to I think what I'm going to go back to doing is doing a TBR each month, because I think that'll definitely help me with knowing I have these specific books I have to read each month, rather than just kind of like going off my mood. And if I'm in a mood not to read it, then I won't read it. I'll pick something else. But like, just having some kind of something to keep me on track might help me a lot. Next we have Bound by Hatred by Cora Riley. This is part of the Born in Blood, that's what it is, Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles. I have been reading, in the middle of reading the Kimura Chronicles, which is like the spin-off of this series. So I want to read this one. This is like book 3? Yes. This is book 3. I need to get the first 2 books as usual. But this one was, again, someone was selling it for super cheap, so I decided to pick it up. And next one is The Sweetest Oblivion by Danielle Laurie. This is book 1 of the Maid series. I have been seeing this, I think this is like a TikTok thing, because I've been seeing this all over the place, like within the last year or so. But apparently I didn't know this until a few days ago, that the author of this series is a little bit problematic. I don't know exactly the specifics of what she's done. I know there's like, I guess, things on Twitter that kind of call her out, or that I don't have Twitter. I don't use Twitter, so I'm not 100% sure. But that's why I bought this from a person selling it rather than the actual on Amazon or the author themselves. So next we have On the Rocks by Candy Center. This is the first book of the Becker Brothers series, I think is what this is called. Again, another book that has been sitting, actually this has been sitting on my Amazon cart for a really, really long time. I just never pulled the trigger and got it. I found it again on Pango for cheaper than it was on Amazon, so I picked that up. I think this is around it's 4 books, I believe, and it's around a family that owns a whiskey distillery, which sounds really interesting. This is one I didn't really know exactly what it was about, but I think it's a bodyguard romance, and that's all I need to know. And that's Fearless by Tia Louise. I have not read anything by this author before, but I got a bunch of books from, like, in a bundle from the same seller, so it was a little bit cheaper when you're paying shipping. But yeah, I think this is a bodyguard romance. Next, I finally got The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. This is book 3 in her Elements series. I mentioned I wanted to finish this series. I have read The Air He Breathes, which is book 1. I have book 2. I now have book 3, which is, I think, everyone's favorite. And then along with book 4, The Gravity of Us, which I still need to get. But 3 and 4 are everyone's favorite. I do want to read 2. I haven't really seen anyone read 2. They've like read the first one and then skipped 3. Next we have an anthology that has been on my Amazon wish list for a long time, but it's like $20 on there. I don't remember how much it was on Pango, but it was at least half that or more, and it's The Naughty Brits. And it's an anthology with Sarah McLean, Sophie Jordan, Louisa Edwards, Tessa Gratton, and Sierra Simone. Now, Sarah McLean and Sophie Jordan, I know, write historical romance because I have read Sarah McLean, and I do have Sophie Jordan books on my historical romance shelf. But these, instead of being historical, these are contemporary, like, British romances. And there's 5 of them. And they all sound so good. Their little blurbs are listed on the back. But yeah, this one was on my, I happened to see it. It just kind of popped up on my, like, recommended for you. And someone was selling it for, like, super cheap on Pango. So thank you to the seller for letting me get my hands on this book. Next we have Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin, another Dangerous Romance Club, like, special edition. I don't think it is signed. I wonder if the priest is signed. Hold on. Oh, down here. I didn't actually look to see if this was signed. Oh, it has a plate. What do you call it? A book plate, I guess is what you would call it, to stick inside the book. But so yeah, this one is signed. Another one that was really cheap for being a book box special edition. So I don't know. I need to read Pam Godwin. Like, she is an author that I absolutely need to read this year because I have 3 books by her. I have Dark Notes, Lessons in Sin, and I have Sea of Ruin because she was a Mystic Box author back last year, toward the end of last year. So I really, really desperately need to read her because I feel like she's going to be one of the authors that I absolutely love, given the type of dark romance and taboo things that she writes, because that is my candy. All right, next I have The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea by Amelia Wilde. Now, there's another book that has the same title or similar title that's by Elizabeth O'Rourke that I also want to read, but this one's short. It's like a little novella, which I didn't realize. I was going to read this for a readathon at some point last year, so it was on my, like, Kindle TBR, of the Kindle edition of it was, and then again, I happened to find it. Someone was selling it for super cheap. It was like $4 or $5 or something like that. So I picked it up because I definitely want to read it. This is I think he takes her, kidnaps her or something like that. I got the first 3 books of J.T. Geisinger's Ruthless Creatures series. So we got Ruthless Creatures, Carnal Urges, which seems to be everyone's favorite book, and Savage Hearts, and they are in beautiful, beautiful condition. So that makes me really happy and excited. So the last 4 books I have are historical romances. The first one I've actually already read, but I've been looking for it for a while, and that's Annie's Song by Katherine Anderson. I read this for a book club pick last year with Jess, and I can't remember who the other host for that was, but they all gave it like 3 stars. Like no one was impressed with it. I was obsessed. I gave this book, if it wasn't for the ending, which I refuse to acknowledge even happened, this would have been a 5-star book. I think I still probably did give it 5 stars, but we just take out the ending part of it, and I just really loved this. So I wanted to get myself another copy so I read it. I think I listened to it because I think my Hoopla had the audiobook, but I would want to go back and read it physically at some point. And next I have the last book in the Hellions of Havisham series, I believe, which is the little novella. And this is When the Marquess Falls by Lorraine Heath. This is it's like book 3.5. It's technically the prequel, but as far as my understanding is, it's better to read the first 3 books first and then go back to read this, because I think the 3 books are about like the sons of this couple, because they know that the mother died, and some kind of like the mother died tragically, and then this is that story of the mom and dad, and like this is their story. So next I think this is the first book of the Once Upon a Dukedom series by Lorraine Heath. This is Scoundrel of My Heart. Oh, I didn't check this. I don't think these have step backs, but no. I do have, I think I have quite a few of the Once Upon a Dukedom. I don't know how many there are in the series, but I have, I think, is it the Duchess Hunt is the next one? I don't know. They don't have them in order. I had a list of what ones I still need to collect, and this was on there, and I think this is the first one. I don't remember. I'll figure it out eventually. I do have them, like which order to read which books. But if I don't have it in front of me, then I have no idea what's happening. And the final book that I got is the first book of the Scoundrels of St. James series, and that's In Bed with the Devil by Lorraine Heath. This is the first book of hers that I'm going to read, because I do want to read her Scoundrels of St. James series, and then I believe the next series is the Scandalous Gentlemen of St. James or something like that, is like the children of the characters in this series. And then they say go on to the Hellions of Havisham. So there's like those 3 series that I want to read. I have a plan. I did say I want to read more historical romance. Lorraine Heath is one of the #1 authors that I want to read, aside from Joanna Shoup. So this is going to be the first book that I start with. I keep looking at my historical romance shelf because it's right there. So I'm like, I got to remember what order I have things in. But yeah, so that's it. That's the 19 books that I got in January. Hopefully, I'm hoping that my birthday is the end of March. My plan is to not buy no books in the next 2 months, because that's going to be unrealistic, but maybe no more than 10. We'll cut this in half. I'm going to say try to get through February with buying no more than 10 books, and then March with no more than 10 books. So, but we'll see. That's kind of like I'm going to try to like slowly wean myself off of buying things. And if I happen to surpass that, then that's great. If not, then what can I say? It's a weakness of mine. But that's it for this video. I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.